So you wanna make video games, huh? Don't. There's easier things to do that are also more profitable. That is the video, folks. See you guys next time. If you are still here after that incredibly cliche intro, it means you're persistent. Persistent is good because you're going to need it. This video is going to be a good foundation of knowledge to start your game dev journey, but nothing can really prepare you for the absolute imposter syndrome inducing shitstorm that is making your first good game. But before we begin, why should you even listen to me? Well, it just so happens that I am making my own game. I've rewritten the beginning 3 times and I can't draw for shit yet, so I've had to redo the interiors and characters about 5 times. It's been about 6 months since I first had the idea for the game and I still don't have jack shit to show for it. In fact, I only have about 15 minutes of actual gameplay. It's beginning to sound like I'm pretty shit at making a game, so why listen to me instead of someone who actually ships games and knows what the fuck they're talking about? Well, it's because everyone sucks at first. This is one of those high barrier to entry things that no one is immediately good at. Being a solo dev, you have several skill checks you have to pass. You have to be good at programming, art design, sound design, directing, writing, and anything else your game might include. And resultantly, many people give up, but I'm gonna tell you why you shouldn't give up and how you shouldn't give up. I am going through it right now, and chances are you will be too. Essentially, I understand your suffering and will try to help alleviate it. This making game shit is not easy. In fact, it's not even just hard. If life tasks had a difficulty level, this would be top 2. So without further ado, let's get into. You think I can help you and you're still watching. That means that in your greasy ball of gray matter up there, you must have an idea. What stage of its life cycle the idea is in will vary depending on the person and the age of the idea, but there you have it. Thought fragments assembled in your brain, urging you to action. There's 2 ways you can go about your life now. Number one is to directly port your idea into a game engine, which we will talk about in a second, but you can directly port it in, and now the idea has physical form. It'll be harder to let go of now. It'll grow as you develop the game. The downside with this is that picking the engine early might turn out to be a bad decision later on when your idea metamorphs into a dinosaur from a tiny little bug. Once you have an idea and you've picked the method of execution, you can move on to. Now, this will be a very confusing period of your life. The problem with picking an engine is that they're all going to seem like they're perfectly viable options. I really recommend that you don't spend much time here because you might end up in paralysis by analysis or worse. You might end up switching engines twice like me. I'm not mad about it. It was a fun learning experience. I'm going to keep this part as short as I can and give you sort of a checklist to go through so you can know what engine to pick. Is your game 3D or 2D? If it's 3D, your best options are Unreal Engine and Unity. Both are free until your game hits a certain revenue mark. After that, you either have to pay a certain portion of your revenue to the engine owners if it's Unreal Engine, or buy a subscription plan if it's Unity. If your game is 2D, on the other hand, your best options are either Game Maker Studio 2 or Godot. Game Maker Studio 2 is subscription based for consoles and has a $100 one-time fee for commercial indie solo devs on PC. You can also go with Unity or Unreal Engine for 2D, but Unreal Engine has a very steep learning curve and is way too complicated to learn just for 2D, and Unity doesn't even have a dedicated 2D editor. Now, to be fair, if you do decide to go with Godot because it's free and lightweight, you'll be figuring things out along the way like I did. The support and community is there, and so are tutorials, but the state of things isn't exactly great. Yet, Unity, on the other hand, has tutorials for everything and a marketplace for assets. Even GameMaker Studio 2 has a much larger support base than Godot. All in all, Unity and GameMaker Studio 2 might be the easier routes, whereas Godot is definitely the harder but more fulfilling route for 2D at least. So now that you have an idea and an engine, what's next for our starry-eyed bootstrap developer? Remember when I said game development is one of the hardest things you are going to do? Well, this is the part where you experience it. You're going to want to start and you're going to have no idea how or where to. This is also where you're going to run into tutorial hell. Tutorial hell is basically when you end up following an endless series of tutorials, learning nothing along the way, and resultantly being able to make nothing. My anger is from being in tutorial hell for a while. To avoid said tutorial hell, complete the following checklist. Remember, all of these are going to take time. Okay, it's going to seem like it's a lot of time, but at least none of it is going to be wasted. And more importantly, you're going to avoid limbo. Trust me, you're going to waste way more time in tutorial hell than you're going to do following this checklist. So, number one, you're going to want to learn some basic mathematics. You might not need this if you already know these things, but it's good to take a refresher course anyway. You do need to know some basic algebra and geometry to do any game development. I recommend Freya Homer's game dev course. It is fantastic. It is available for free on YouTube, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. Number two, you're gonna want to learn how to do tutorials. Okay, just because tutorials lead people to tutorial hell doesn't necessarily mean that those themselves are bad. Here's a step-by-step tutorial on how to actually make tutorials useful instead of a time sink that only makes you feel like you're doing something useful. So you're going to take your tutorial. In this case, I'm going to give the example of Brackey's basic 2D platformer for Godot. Again, link will be in the description. And if you are brand new to game dev, as in you've never even touched a programming console before, I recommend just watching it, start to end, with nothing else going on. Don't follow along, don't take notes, just attentively watch that video. And once you're done with that, you're going to watch it a second time. This time, taking extensive notes on anything you feel like is worth taking notes about. How does he implement this functionality? What did he say that button's specific function was? How did he say you should implement sounds? Take extensive and good notes. If you want a tutorial on how to take notes, comment down below and maybe I'll make one. Step 3, and the most important step, is to make a completely separate game with the notes you've taken. Don't even get Brackey's assets, man. Your brain will go into copy mode, trust me. You can get free assets from itch.io and get to work. Now, this part is vital, so pay close attention. You will, at no point during your development, consult the video you watched. You will consult your notes and your brain to problem solve your way into making a game. Now, this will be a lot more difficult than just following the tutorial, but it will give you invaluable skills you can use to actually develop something new, your own game instead of the one in the tutorial. Now, the advice I mentioned is for end-to-end game tutorials, i.e. the tutorials that show you how to make an entire game, even if it is just a basic one. And you can apply it to tutorials for specific features you want to implement in your game. However, you can also just copy and paste the code for the feature. If you kind of know what you're doing, this is very much like being a mechanic or an engineer. You can either just put things in place and see what works, or you can take your time to understand what's going on while it works. Either way, it's gonna break all the time and you don't know what the fuck to do, but hey, at least you'll know what it was supposed to do. This part is going to be extremely concise. Don't trust the publisher or any capitalist, money-hungry pig with your work. Just look at Disco Elysium, man. Look at what they did to Disco Elysium. Look at how they butchered my boy. Robert Kurwitz spent 15 years of his life making the Elysium world, and now he's lost all rights to it because of a capitalist, money-hungry pig. Make sure you own your work. Always have a lawyer present if you are negotiating or signing anything with anyone, and use Steam to publish if you can. If you can fork out a one-time publishing fee of $100, the $100 gets given back to you once your game hits $1,000 in sales. However, Steam will take a 30% cut after $1,000 in sales, which drops to 25% after $10 million in sales and 20% after $50 million. There's a few alternatives as well, but nothing as great as Steam if you want to make any real money. Let's be honest. Good luck, soldier. I hope this helps. Only one step left, and it's